Greetings, I'm Donna, and I'd like to share the intriguing tale of my experience with entitled in-laws. When selecting a life partner, it's crucial to be attuned to warning signs. Unfortunately, I overlooked them and found myself grappling with this situation. I hope my narrative serves as a source of inspiration for you to extricate yourself from toxic relationships before it becomes too overwhelming. My husband Anthony and I initially believed we had a robust connection. We crossed paths in a bar during one of my evenings out. Anthony, a charismatic individual, effortlessly charmed me. At the time, I was single and on the lookout for a partner. My parents resided in a different country, and I was pursuing studies at a prestigious university. Claimed to work in his father's business when we began dating. However, approximately 11 months later, Anthony admitted that he was, in reality, employed in a minimum wage position at Wendy's. This revelation left me astonished, questioning why he had lied. Tearfully, he explained that his family was struggling financially, abandoned by his father, and his mother, despite her efforts, faced difficulties with 3 other children to care for. College and good job opportunities were unattainable for him. Baffled, I inquired, "Why did you lie to me, Anthony?" He confessed that he thought I wouldn't be with someone he considered a loser. Despite my reassurances, he felt compelled to fabricate a more prosperous background. I expressed my pride in his dedication to his family and emphasized that there was no shame in his circumstances. Despite his apology, I soon discovered that Anthony was not only manipulative, but also a compulsive liar. While he proved to be an affectionate boyfriend, his lack of motivation in life became apparent. Despite my diligence in excelling academically, Anthony made no effort to secure a better job. I often found myself footing the bill for our dates, initially manageable as I had a side job. However, over time, I realized I was consistently covering all his expenses. One day, I inquired about the reason he seemed stagnant in one place. I suggested, "Don't you think it's time to explore better job opportunities? With your experience, you won't have to search for long." He responded, "I'm content with my current job, Donna. Why do I need a better one? Are you struggling with my income?" I clarified, "No, Anthony, it's not about that. I just want the best for you. I've been supportive, but we need solid plans for our future." Concerned, he asked, "Are you embarrassed to have me as your boyfriend?" Surprised, I replied, "I didn't know you could interpret it that way. I've mentioned before that I don't have much, but I earn enough for our dates. What more do you want?" Expressing my frustration, I stated, "It's not fair that I'm covering the majority of our expenses. I understand your family issues, but they should motivate you to seek a better job." Reluctantly, he agreed. "Fine, if you insist, I'll try to find a better job." Although he promised to enhance his position at work, my frustration grew as he never followed through. Every time I asked about his job search, he came up with excuses. Despite my frustration, I looked past it, realizing I wasn't with him for money. I sympathized with his family problems, continuing our relationship. As time passed, it was time for me to graduate. I secured a high-paying job immediately after completing my studies. While I was elated, Anthony, though happy for me, occasionally made snide comments. I also noticed he was increasingly leaving our expenses to me. We couldn't move in together because he lived with his mom and couldn't afford rent independently. Feeling sympathy, I suggested, "Anthony, if you truly want to move in with me, I can cover your rent for a few months. I need to get my place now that I've graduated, and during this time you can focus on finding a better job." He asked, "Will you do that for me?" Assuring him, I replied, "I am positive I'll cover your rent for a few months. Use this time to find a better job. I will undoubtedly secure a good job and I'll begin applying right away. Anthony, we've moved into a new place and I'd be happy to assist you, but you need to be more committed to your job search. You can't afford to slack off like the last time. Donna, it won't happen again. I promise." With his reassurance, we relocated to a new place. Though small, we managed to make it work. The rent was quite expensive, and I was prepared to cover most of it, even after Anthony found a better job. However, that didn't happen. A week after moving in, Anthony informed me that he was quitting. "I hate my job, Donna. I've handed in my notice. I don't want to go back to that cheap place. You've been so supportive, and I'm already looking for a new job so I won't have to work there anymore." Shocked, I asked, "Anthony, why did you make this decision without consulting me? We just moved in together. You need to have a job offer lined up before you quit." "Relax, I'll get one very soon. Mom's already taking care of my siblings, so I couldn't ask her for help. But you can support me for 3 months. You have the money and the job." Feeling uneasy, I responded, "It's unfair for you to assume this. Anthony, you should have discussed it with me." "So, you don't want to support me?" "I didn't know you could be so selfish. Here I was looking for a better job for us, and now you refuse to support me anymore." I feel betrayed." His words stung, and I immediately felt at fault. I did offer to cover his share while he looked for a better job, but I didn't anticipate him quitting out of the blue. Anthony was furious and didn't talk to me for a week. Despite the tension, my love for him remained strong. I extended my apologies to him and reassured him of my commitment to provide financial support for as long as he required it. In the meantime, he introduced me to his family, consisting of his mother Elizabeth and 3 siblings, Billy and Lisa. Elizabeth, while outwardly sweet, gave off an impression of trying too hard. His siblings, on the other hand, seemed to ignore me, engrossed in their activities, and they didn't even exchange greetings during dinner. During our conversation, Elizabeth made some peculiar comments about our financial situation, expressing gratitude for my support due to their apparent financial struggles. She assumed that my parents had set aside a college fund for me, contrasting their situation. I clarified that I was only temporarily covering Anthony's rent, and he was actively seeking better job opportunities. Elizabeth, however, persisted in urging me to take care of him if he couldn't secure a good job. When I questioned Anthony about this interaction, he nonchalantly shrugged it off, claiming I was overthinking. I felt uneasy about the whole conversation and was perturbed by Anthony casually informing his mother that I would be taking care of him. As time passed, Anthony struggled to find a decent job, and his job search was not yielding any positive outcomes. Despite my efforts to help by sending him various job ads, he claimed to have reached out but faced rejection. Eventually, I discovered an opening in my company that offered a better-paying warehouse job. I informed Anthony about it, and he promised to apply. However, I later learned from our hiring manager that they never received an application from him. I found myself in a state of utter confusion, convinced that he had misplaced the application. However, upon consulting Anthony, he assured me that I never applied for the job. "Donna, I never even sent my application. It was a missed opportunity, Anthony, and I didn't apply for the job. I would have even vouched for you with the hiring manager. But honestly, I don't want to work there. Donna, you hold such a high position. People would mock me thinking you're superior. Don't be absurd, Anthony. You needed that job. It paid much better than your previous one, and you have nothing else lined up. Actually, I'm not sure if I want to work right now. It's draining and detrimental to my mental health. Besides, I think I'm managing the household well enough. It's better this way, Anthony. I'm coping for now, but we need another source of income for savings. We can't continue like this indefinitely. I thought you loved me. Don't you respect my mental health? I thought you loved me. You should want me to be happy. A low-level job makes me unhappy. After this, there's nothing more to say. It's true. I could support both of us, and he was handling most of the household chores. Having someone at home was nice, but my savings were depleting and the future looked bleak. Nevertheless, I agreed to support him a little longer because his well-being mattered more to me than material wealth. Any lingering doubts disappeared when he proposed. The proposal was incredibly romantic and exactly what I wanted. I knew I loved him and wanted to be with him forever, so I happily said yes. I even footed the bill for our small wedding at a friend's property. We couldn't invite many people, but we were content. Unfortunately, things soured after the wedding. He remained unemployed and showed no inclination to find a job. I tolerated it until he stopped contributing to household chores altogether, spending his time playing video games. After my work hours, I'd toil through the night, cleaning up after him. His siblings occasionally helped with the pantry, but expenses were hard to manage. I confronted him, saying, "You're not helping, Anthony. You've stopped contributing to chores. I'm exhausted when I get home from work, and you need to do more. I'm already doing enough, Donna. You shouldn't complain so much. Working at home is tiring, and you can't expect me to do everything for you. But you're not even helping out. Can't you ask Billy for assistance?" Lisa and each week deal with their untidiness and constant pantry raids, resulting in additional expenses that strain my already diminishing savings. Rather than incessantly complaining, Anthony should consider taking up an extra job, given his substantial earnings. It wouldn't hurt to share some financial responsibility with his family, who arguably need the money more than he does. Anthony, your siblings are adults now. They should fend for themselves in terms of food and entertainment. While I'm willing to support you, there's a limit, and this situation is overwhelming. Anthony continued arguing, accusing me of selfishness, and insisting that his family is a package deal. Despite my efforts, he remained adamant, branding me as privileged and entitled, oblivious to the hard work I put into my job. In desperation, I reached out to Elizabeth, hoping she could bring some clarity to Anthony. Elizabeth, a hardworking woman, surprised me with her response. She defended her son, emphasizing his lack of a fancy degree and the challenges he faced in securing a good job. According to her, it was my duty to accommodate his needs, even if it meant compromising my well-being. Refusing to accept such an unreasonable stance, I reminded Elizabeth that everyone should contribute to the household, regardless of gender or qualifications. However, she dismissed the idea, claiming that men don't do household chores, and that it was solely my responsibility as Anthony's wife. Frustrated by Elizabeth's lack of support, I felt trapped in a toxic relationship with no one on my side. Despite Anthony's short-lived promises to improve and assist me, doubts lingered. Eventually, my fears proved valid as the situation deteriorated further after 2 months. Returning home late from work, I noticed Elizabeth's car in the driveway, which puzzled me since she rarely visited. Upon entering, I found Billy and Lisa present, both casting strange glances. They urged me to sit down, and as I did, Anthony spoke up. "There's something we need to discuss. Our lease will expire next 3 weeks," he declared. Bewildered, I questioned the need for a new place, to which Anthony explained that Lisa, now an adult, required her room. The idea was for all of us to move into a larger space, and I was tasked with finding a new property. Stunned, I protested, "Are you serious? Do you want me to pay for your entire family? Elizabeth, are you even planning to contribute anything?" Unfazed, Elizabeth asserted that her son would never charge them rent, insisting it was my responsibility as the breadwinner to care for them. Adding to the absurdity, Anthony and Lisa outlined their demands for separate rooms and frequent guests, with no intention of contributing financially. They expected me to enhance our living situation by getting a bigger fridge for their extra munchies, and suggested I take up another job for a better lifestyle. In utter disbelief, I reluctantly agreed to look into it. However, as they continued with their unreasonable demands, my frustration grew. Anthony not only blindsided me with this proposal, but also refused to seek employment, placing the burden of supporting his mother and adult children solely on me. Feeling like their slave and cash cow, I decided I was done with this family, and truthfully, I was done with Anthony. Formulating a plan, I assured them that I would figure something out and then promptly ushered them out of the house. In a last-ditch effort, I spoke to Anthony, hoping to salvage some semblance of my marriage, but he remained adamant that I should shoulder his responsibilities and care for everyone. At that point, I realized there was no turning back, so I called my parents and asked them to move back home. They were aware of my troubles and immediately agreed. Following that, I requested a transfer at work, knowing there was an opening in my home country. It provided the incentive I needed, and slowly, I planned the move. Since only my name was on the lease, ending the agreement was smooth. The landlord cooperated, agreeing not to inform Anthony. As the month neared its end, I booked a ticket back home without informing anyone. After reaching my parents' house, Anthony bombarded me with calls, accusing me of selfishness and demanding an explanation. "Where the hell are you? Your suitcase is gone, and the landlord is telling me to empty the house. What is going on?" he exclaimed. "I'm back in my home country, Anthony, away from you for good. You and your family can look for a new house on your own. I won't be paying for it anymore. It's time for you to go to work. I'll return only for the divorce. Don't expect to get a cent from me," I asserted. "You can't do that. You can't make us homeless. Come back and make this right. I demand you return. There's no way I'll sign the divorce papers," Anthony protested. "We will see about that," I replied before hanging up. Despite blocking calls and texts, Anthony, his mother, and siblings continued pestering me. A week later, Elizabeth reached out from an unknown number, begging for help. They had become homeless, having failed to renew the lease, thinking I would take care of housing. Living out of their cars with no money, they were struggling. Despite their pleas, I stood firm in my decision. Anthony tried unsuccessfully to find a job, and even voicemails and messages attempting to win me back were blocked. In my old home, near my retired parents who never liked Anthony, life improved significantly. My father even promised to find a good lawyer to discuss the divorce. While I plan to return eventually, for now, I'm taking things slow. Calls and texts from Anthony and his family eventually stopped, possibly due to financial constraints. Regardless, I felt liberated from my toxic husband and was enjoying a fresh start.